Good morning. I was thinking about 1 Samuel 16 today, in particular verse 7. 1 Samuel 16 is when we see the prophet Samuel being instructed by the Lord to go and anoint a new king for Israel. The season's end. Things change. And Samuel was the one that Father used to install Saul as king, and he had come to the end of his purpose in the kingdom of Israel, and it was time for a change, and it was hard to let go. It's often hard to let go. He was crying over his lost king, and I feel like today somebody out there, maybe it's you, is crying over your lost king, or over something that you wanted to happen that happened for a while and then it quit happening, or maybe it's a lost relationship or a lost business or a lost ministry or a lost whatever. And I can hear the words of the Lord the same as he told Samuel, quit crying, get up. I've anointed something new. There's something new out there today for you that's anointed by God. You just have to get up and go find it. Well, Samuel went down to Jesse's house under the guise of making a sacrifice of a red heifer so he could invite Jesse and his family to the sacrifice. And long story short, he ends up at Jesse's house and he tells him the good news that one of his sons is the next king. He says, bring them before me. So they all line up, 7. The 8th was David, who was out watching the sheep in the field, about his father's business, taking care of sheep. Go take care of sheep. We're all the flock of God. And if you take care of God's people, it's so much easier to find your purpose and to find that which is anointed for you. So he goes through the brothers one at a time, and the first one's strong and mighty, and Abinadab, he comes up, and the prophet himself says, this is the Lord. This is the one right here. The Lord's showing me. Surely the Lord's anointed is before me. Did you know that prophets can miss it? Did you know that no matter how much God uses somebody, sometimes they can be wrong? Except me, of course. That does not include me. Okay, it includes me. It definitely includes me. That's why you need to learn to hear that voice on your own, because prophets miss it. So the Lord speaks to him and says something so important for us to understand, and we know it as 1 Samuel 16:7. He says, God doesn't look at the things that man looks at. For man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. God saw straight through to the heart of the matter, and this beautiful, strong, firstborn young man that seemed like the obvious choice was not in fact the choice. You have to look past the outside. Now, men don't. That verse also says that men do look at the outward appearance. So, comb your hair, get your hair going pretty, and, y'all like mine today, it's beautiful. Take a look at the outside, because men do. But really, when it comes down to it, the important part is on the inside. That's why Paul wrote to the church at Corinth, and he said, don't judge each other after the flesh. Don't look at somebody and say, ooh, they're black, ooh, they're gay, ooh, they're fat, ooh, they're skinny, ooh, they're Republican, ooh, they're Democrat, ooh, they're... Look to the heart, because if you look to the heart, what you're going to find there is perfection. You're going to see the perfect Spirit of God. We're his children, made in his likeness and in his image. We can look past the outside to the inside. Thank God Father does. When Jesus was speaking and said, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Most folks read that and they think, yeah, if we keep that old heart pure, one day we'll get to go see sweet Jesus. No, now, if I'm looking at you with a pure heart, I'm going to look past your mess and see the message of Christ that's there on the inside of you. If I have a pure heart, when I look at any man, any woman, then I can see the DNA on the inside of them. And I can see the perfection. So again, 1 Samuel 16:7, man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks upon the heart. So he moves through these brothers one at a time. There's one whose name means a willing volunteer, one whose name means shame, one whose name means strength, and none of them were the chosen ones. He said, do you not have another son? He says, well, I've got one. It's David. He's a kid, but probably a young teenager. That's what historians tell us. And he's out keeping the sheep. And Samuel says, you go get him, and I'm not going to sit down till he comes. I like that attitude. I am not going to sit down until I find the answer. I'm not going to give up on this thing. Just because the answer doesn't come in a day doesn't mean I'm going to quit. I'm going to look until I find it. Because there is an answer out there for me, for my next place of anointing in the Spirit. Now, I'm not talking about a physical place necessarily. It may include that. I'm not talking about pack your bags, we're moving to Georgia. Pack your bags, we're moving to California. I'm talking about that place in the Spirit where you can find the blessing of God in your life. Well, David comes in. He's a kid. He's got his backpack on and his skateboard on his back. Probably not a skateboard, but he had his little instrument that he played. And he comes in from keeping the sheep and grabs a bottle of Gatorade out of the fridge and gets called over to the group. And his dad grabs him by the shoulders and says, son, this is the prophet Samuel, and he has something to say to you. He takes a horn of plenty, a horn of oil, not that little dabble-do-ya, hey, that we get in the charismania churches, but 2 to 5 gallons, pours it over his head. The anointing runs over the head and all the way down. What a beautiful picture, like Psalm 133. Behold how good and pleasant it is for the brethren to dwell in unity. It's like the oil that ran down Aaron's beard, over the head, down the beard, and all the way down to the hems of the garment. We have the same anointing on us that was poured over Jesus because we're part of that same body. Well, he anoints him to be king. And I was thinking about how precious that is, to be that father and to stand there and watch one of your sons be the chosen one and get the anointing in their lives. How precious. How precious to be David, to stand there and have that anointing flow over you and know that you've been chosen by God for a particular task. But my heart's with Samuel, to be able to stand there and know that God used you to pick out that which was anointed, to pour on to someone who was ordinary and watch them become extraordinary, to watch water turn into wine. We have that ability, to look into each other's lives and see something much bigger than the natural eye can see, and to bring it forth by taking the anointing that we have and pouring it on them. That's what I want to do for you every single day, and I hope I do in some small way. My goal is to talk to you and write to you and to be in your life in such a way that I can reach past anything on the outside and show you what's on the inside, and then help bring it forth by taking the anointing I've been trusted with and placing it on you. You have a great day today. God bless you, and don't you ever forget, I love you.